Hello and welcome back to Realty TV. I am Landon Bellum with the Griffith Home Team, and today I have another Griffith Home Team teammate with me, Jordan Ortega.
Nice to meet you guys again. Griffith Home Team, Jordan Ortega. And me and Landon, we both live in Castle Rock, and we're super excited to shoot some, conversation today and just talk a little bit about Castle Rock.
This is going to be, I have bias with this one because I love Castle Rock a lot.
Right.
Lived there for a long time. So we have a lot to talk about because there are plenty of people out there, out of the state, within the state, that are considering making a move to Castle Rock and are wondering if it's the right place for them.
Right.
So today we're just going to be talking about the ins and outs. Why live in Castle Rock? The pros and cons of living in Castle Rock. The best neighborhoods to live in Castle Rock. We're just going to dive really deep into it. And this is just a full episode to where if you watch it from the beginning to the end, you'll know probably almost everything that you could ever need to know about Castle Rock.
Yeah, so, if you don't pick up a few things about Castle Rock today, we're doing something wrong. So
yeah.
We both live in Castle Rock. Like he said, I love Castle Rock, everything about it. I chose Castle Rock, and we were looking at Highlands Ranch, other different cities, and ultimately Castle Rock was the right choice, and I'm glad we did it. And there's a lot that we've loved, and I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. It's going to be a great episode. So we'll get into the general meat of the podcast here in a second and just dive into it. But first, Jordan, why don't you just give us a little bit of background on you, real estate and things like that, and then we'll go ahead and get into it.
So we'll start with real estate. I've been licensed since 2019. So we're going on 6-7 years or so. And I got into it because of my brother. He was doing real estate, and I came from a retail background, always in a salesmanship type of role. And since I was 14, I've always been a worker, just been a worker bee. That's all I know. I just like to grind, and I enjoy it. I actually prefer to work instead of going to school and college and all that. That being said, so I really love what I do, because if you ask me, real estate's very not transactional, but there's a lot of salesmanship and a lot of people. The people piece is a big deal for me. I've always been a very people-oriented person. So I studied sociology a little bit.
Oh, nice.
I've always loved just the way, people think and the way things tick. I'm always like, I'd like to know the whys.
Yeah.
I don't just leave it at the surface. And I just think real estate really plugs in with what I've, grown up in my education and just my jobs and just all the success I've had in retail.
Yeah.
It translated so fast and so quick. Essentially, it's all about the people, and everything else comes in time.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And you've obviously been incredibly successful in real estate, and it's been a good transition for you. And so you and your family, you're living out in Castle Rock now, and doing a lot to help people get into the market, get their first investments, and in housing and all that. So
I think we've talked about it before. Like, I have a little bit of ADHD, probably, maybe yourself as well.
I do as well, yeah.
This job lets me get out of a cube and staying in different, I'm not in the same four walls every single day. I need different, exposure and just a different house every day or show in this city. I just love the dynamic piece about it. And I also relate to it quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's like the perfect job.
That's good. Yeah. And that's how I feel about it too. It's a great fit for me as well, and my personality, and just every day is a totally different situation and scenario. Right. So it's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and tease. I always tease the Houses of Horrors segment that we get into at the end. It's the last segment where each of us just talk about a nightmare experience that we've had in this industry that we love so much, but that doesn't mean it's easy. So just as like a 1-2 sentence teaser, mine is going to be about how a pest situation in the attic almost blew up a big deal.
That sounds pretty spicy.
Yeah, it was spicy. Awful, but we figured it out. But we'll get to we'll get to it at the end. What about you? Do you got any?
I'm going to do a one word.
Okay.
Tease.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing a 4 or 5 sentence or just, this is going to be one word, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Chicken. That's it.
Chicken.
That's all you get. Chicken.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyways.
All right. We'll get to chicken and the pest control issues at the end, so stay tuned. But let's go ahead and just dive into it. So Castle Rock. Castle Rock, for people who maybe don't know, it's a suburb of the greater Denver area, the Denver metro area. It's on the south side, about, depending on traffic in the day, 30 to 45 minutes south of Denver. And it's also at the same time about 45 to 60 minutes north of Colorado Springs. So it's kind of a healthy, geographical balance between the two biggest cities in Colorado, which is something that we'll probably talk about. But I have lived in Castle Rock for over 20 years now. I went to elementary, middle, high school there. My family, my wife and my 2 kids, we live there now. We have lived in Castle Rock and have seen it grow over the years. Yeah. How long have you been in Castle Rock? Because I actually don't know.
Okay. I've been exposed to Castle Rock for probably 3 decades.
Yeah.
That being said, we actually grew up in Highlands Ranch.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went to school in Highlands Ranch up until I went to college. And then when I went to college, my parents actually up and moved from Highlands Ranch to Castle Rock.
Okay. Yeah.
So legit, completely true story here. I came home from college and I went to our house and all of a sudden everything was gone and my family wasn't living there.
They didn't tell you that they moved?
They did not tell me that they moved. And I call them like, hey, I'm here. Where are you guys at? And ended up moving to Castle Rock and bought their first home. So my parents never actually were homeowners.
Okay. Yeah.
And never really advocated for home ownership.
Yeah.
So growing up, I didn't think that was the thing or even mattered.
Yeah.
We rented every 2 years. We moved, rent. And I think that's a part of me too today, liking to stay more grounded.
Yeah.
Because of all of that,
so much.
I want to have a home base and I want to give that to other people who want that too. But as far as Castle Rock goes, my parents did move there. And I didn't know much about it other than we would go to the outlets.
Yeah.
And if you miss your exit past Ridgegate, you're just stuck
and
you got to go all the way down.
All the way to Castle
So I
Rock.
used to make that mistake when I was 16 because I just didn't know my directions very well.
Yeah.
So I would miss my exit and hit Castle Rock and always be like,
back around to Highlands
where
Ranch.
am I? This is like so far out.
Yeah.
And it felt that way back then.
Yeah, it did.
But since I moved back here, finished school, did all that, we lived in Aurora for a few years. Then we moved to Castle Rock probably right before my daughter was born.
Okay.
She's 4.5 right now.
Okay.
So we've been there since then, and we built a new construction to one of the builders there. So we've been in a pretty new home, and it's been great. We love it.
Yeah. So that gets us. That's a good segue. So you've been there for a few years, but you've had exposure to it for a long time. I've obviously grew up there and have helped a lot of people. The majority of my business is in Douglas County, but specifically Castle Rock and Castle Pines. And I would guess that
100%. That's
the majority of yours is
relatable.
Too. Yeah.
I think South Metro Denver is definitely my wheelhouse, but Castle Rock and in the surrounding areas
specifically. Yeah, I know you do a lot there as well. So this is probably the question that a lot of people who would watch this are going to ask. Why Castle Rock?
Yeah.
Why consider moving to Castle Rock instead of Highlands Ranch or Castle Pines or Parker or Denver or North Denver suburbs? Why Castle Rock?
So I think there's a billion answers to that question. And
Agreed.
I think everyone has their own little reasons as to why. I'm not per se going to say about my why, but some of the things that I've heard other people say.
Sure. Yeah.
A big one is a lot of folks are just like, obviously we're in a busy city, more capacity, a lot more people, more density, bigger city. And I think Castle Rock essentially gives you like, hey, I am still close to downtown Denver and I can get to all those fun things and I can go to my Broncos game, but then I can leave it there and come home. And I think it's just such a little bit more peaceful. It feels like a small town, a little bit more quiet, more mom and pop. A lot more people know each other. So I think it gives you away from like the busyness of Denver, but still accessible.
Yeah.
And still beautiful. Obviously you come in, you see the big Castle Rock and it's impressive. And obviously that's where we got our name.
Yeah. Right.
But you get a little bit of both worlds though. I think since the last 10 years or so, what I've seen in Castle Rock develop is the changing of businesses and new mom and pop shops coming in. Yeah. And our downtown area has just exploded. We have nightlife. We have
you don't have to go north to get the nightlife.
Yeah, you could do it all here, to be honest. Like I can go I play billiards. I could go play pool in town. I can go have a night out. I could go dancing with my family, like my wife, if I wanted to. There's a cool little bar that we go to, Sinners and Saints.
Nice.
So we'll talk more about some of the specific locations, but you're far away enough from the busyness and you get that small town, really good communal feeling. And I just really think it's one of the better cities in all of Colorado
Yeah.
that gives that experience is kind of where I'm at.
I agree with that. And that to me is my reason for why I live there as well. And why a lot of the people that you and I both help purchase homes in Castle Rock live there is because geographically it's great. If you work in Denver and you have a 9 to 5 where you have to be in Denver Monday through Friday, you're 30 to 45 minutes away, which for most people is a reasonable enough commute. Some people would want to be closer. But for a lot of people, that's fine to be able to get the advantages of what else Castle Rock has to offer,
Right.
which is that smaller town feel. If you want to feel like you live in the suburbs and, have that kind of, for lack of better words, cookie cutter, white picket fence lifestyle, Castle Rock offers that while being so close to Denver. Go to the games, the big sports games, go to the, you work downtown or you want to go to the downtown life. It's so close. And so is Colorado Springs. If you want to go down to Garden of the Gods or take advantage of all the things that Colorado Springs has to offer, that's not that far either. So geographically, it's in a good spot. But I just think it's a nice, calm, peaceful lifestyle down there. And that's what I think is great for us, for my family, for our kids. That's what we want. That's what I had growing up.
Yeah.
Going through the schooling system there, I thought the schools were great. So yeah, I've loved it. I think there's a lot of reasons. And I think maybe one other reason is that there's a lot of growth. Even though it's kind of the small town feel, it's not like it's stuck in the middle of nowhere. There's a Costco coming in a couple of years.
That's right.
A lot more retail. There's a really nice, the outlet mall that you mentioned, a really nice mall that's there. Lots of mom and pop shops, but at the same time, pretty much every franchise that you could want.
You got your Cane's chicken.
You got your Raising Cane's. Panda Express was the one that we were missing for a long time. Throughout all of high school, my buddies and I always complained, we just need a Panda Express, which we got a couple of years ago. So we have pretty much any chain that you could want, plus the small town feel stuff, plus access to the bigger areas, the Denver Tech Center area and Denver within not that far of a drive. So
I have a quick request. Whoever's watching here, we want a slot skis. I would love to see slot skis in Castle Rock. That's all I have.
Yeah.
But anyways,
there's some investor out
we
there,
had a slot
someone who
skis
wants
there.
to franchise that. Yeah, for sure.
Anyways.
So I think that kind of covers the first segment of why. I think there's a lot of benefits as to why, and we're going to kind of be a little bit redundant here in segment 2 where we talk about the pros and the cons of Castle Rock. So we're going to be redundant with the pros, but we'll talk about some of the cons. Not necessarily, they might not be cons to you and me, but to someone else they might be.
Yeah.
Just things that people would want to know, because honestly, someone watching this podcast, they want the real truth. They don't want the bias of people who are like 100% overly committed. They want the truth. So in terms of the pros and cons, one that comes to my mind that we just talked about is it's geographically very nice being in between the two biggest cities in Colorado.
Of course. I can see that.
But the con to that at the same time is if you do really value your time and your commute and you work in Denver and you do not want to be 30 minutes away from your job, this probably isn't the right place for you.
Yeah, probably.
You might want to go into the Lone Tree area or the North Parker area or the South Aurora, DTC
right
area
off the highway
to have kind of the similar suburby feel and being out of the city, but close enough.
Right.
So that's one of the cons that I see is if you need to be in Denver or Colorado Springs often and you don't want to have more than a 30-minute commute, because as soon as the traffic picks up or as soon as the weather and the snow and the rain and the ice pick up, your commute can go pretty quickly from 30 minutes to 45 to 60 minutes. And if there's an accident, you could be stuck in massive traffic just to get back or two.
So depending on your lifestyle, that could really maybe take a toll over time. Doing
100%.
it every single day, it adds up fast. I could see that.
Yeah.
For
What
sure.
other pros and or cons do you see?
Let me get a pro, and I'll relate this to a little bit of my personal here. So one big pro, like I said, my family, when we grew up, we moved every 2 years, and I had to go to a new school and new this, new that. And, eventually my dad, when he moved us here, he looked all around Colorado and talked to some people, and his number one goal was to find us very good education. And what we came up with is Douglas County school districts actually was ranked in the top 5 or 10 in the entire nation for so many years in a row. And we specifically chose the South Metro Denver area because we're the Douglas County.
Yeah.
And the school districts. And I felt like I did, learned quite a bit in school and was successful, and it's really carried over into my adult life. I think Douglas County in school and education, that's a huge pro, if you ask me, in Castle Rock.
I agree with that.
I think a lot of the kids are proud, and they get the proper exposure and experience, and parents can feel safe. You know what I mean? That's a big subject right now, but just feeling safe in Castle Rock, in Douglas County School District. That's one of my
Your kids
biggest
are in a good
pros.
place. Yeah.
And I feel
Mhm.
good. I have a 4-year-old. I know you have some young kids too, and I feel very excited that they can go to school in a place like that.
Yeah, I
What
agree
about
with you.
you?
So I went to Douglas County High School, which is one of the older high schools
Yeah.
in the area. And then within Castle Rock, there's another high school. Gosh, why am I forgetting it? Castleview. Castleview High School is the rival high school on the other side of the highway. So myself and my 3 siblings, we went to Douglas County High School, and my wife and her siblings all went to Castleview High School.
Okay.
So Castleview's a lot newer. It's a lot newer of a high school, and so they've got some different programs. They do things a little bit differently. On paper, if you were to look it up, the difference between the two, I think you'd probably see that Castleview is rated higher on paper.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't like the older feel of Douglas County and
Sure.
stuff, and there's 2 different buildings you got to walk through during the winter time. It's kind of cold or whatever, but like you said, like I also turned out just fine. I had a great education. All
Yeah.
3 of my siblings did. My wife and her siblings that went to the other high school really enjoyed their educations as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
The middle schools, the elementary schools, there's charter schools. There's a lot of, there's even some early college
Mhm.
education schools where some of the I actually teach just in church some high school kids that are seniors, and they go to Colorado Early Colleges.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
called CEC.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of different educational opportunities. And in my own personal experience, maybe in yours, family, other friends of mine have had good education.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to a lot of people.
It's such a big deal.
Yeah. Might not rank as high as, a lot of people say, oh, Cherry Creek School Districts
Oh,
and Cherry
yeah.
Creek High
Yeah.
School, those are the
Yeah.
highest ranked. You got to live within that district and
Yeah.
whatever. And I agree, but on paper only goes so far.
Yeah.
So,
And times have changed since then.
and they have,
We're-
yeah.
The gap has been bridged a little bit
I
for
agree.
Cherry Creek and
Yeah.
in general.
So,
That leads me into one more pro. I think this one needs to be talked about is affordability. In my opinion, for what the value, I always talk
Nice.
value, not, price point or listing price. I talk value. I believe the value you get, the amount of home or square
Mhm.
foot
Mhm.
you get is far superior than almost any other city with the most amenities at the same time. Because clearly you could go a little bit over to Elizabeth and your value, or not your value, but your cost is maybe a little bit lower, but then you're not in a place where you can commute as easy, or you don't have the same schools or the same franchise, different restaurants, things of that sort. I truly wholeheartedly believe that Castle Rock has the best value
Nice.
for what you get for your home at our purchase price. Is that changing? I think we're gonna see
It
a
probably
big,
is. Yeah.
a big boom soon.
Yeah.
But like if you wanted to buy this house in Highlands Ranch, it'd probably be about 800 grand.
Yep.
Castle Rock, maybe about 650
Mhm.
for the same amenities, same size, maybe the same backyard. I really think the value for the homes in Castle Rock are really, really
Mhm.
great, and I truly believe that.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this can be definitely a pro in and of itself and a con to some people for some reasons.
Sure.
And the reason being is per Douglas County standards. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, I like Douglas County and I'm just going between Parker, Castle Rock, Castle Pines, and Highlands Ranch and Littleton perhaps, and trying to find which one's best for you. Castle Rock, I just looked it up while you were talking. The median home price in Castle Rock right now is about $650
Mhm.
is the median. If you go to Highlands Ranch, the median home price is $725.
Okay.
So a significant difference already
Yeah.
just for being 15 minutes north.
Exactly.
Parker, $675. So again, that's like a $25,000 difference
Yeah.
in median home price. And then Littleton is probably in between Highlands Ranch and Parker there. So yeah, if you're wanting to be in the South Denver suburbs, which are definitely newer as a whole on average than the North Denver suburbs,
Mhm.
your median home price in Castle Rock is going to be more bang for your buck. Your
Yeah.
cost of living more bang for your buck in Castle Rock than the surrounding Highlands Ranch, Park, or Castle Pines areas. On the other hand, though, it's not the most affordable city in Colorado. And here's where the con comes in on the same point is the median home price in the North Denver suburbs or cities that are east or west of Denver compared to the south side is going to be significantly lower
Yeah.
than and more affordable, and cost of living in general is going to be more affordable than
What's
Castle
one
Rock.
example for one of those cities?
So the examples that come to my mind are Thornton on the north side, Lakewood on the west side, and Aurora on the east side.
Okay.
Now, what are you trading? You're trading a lot because the average year built of these homes, just in general, is going to be significantly 20 years older than these
Or more.
Castle Rock homes. So
That's right.
does the value make sense? Yeah. The grand majority of the homes were built after 2000 or
Mhm.
2010 in Castle
Sure.
Rock, right? So you're getting newer homes and bigger homes. So you're right. The value, the pro is the value is there for what you get.
I agree.
But if you are looking for the most affordable housing and amenities and things like that in Colorado or the Denver metro area, it's probably not going to be Castle Rock. But for what you get, I'm 100% agreement with you that it is worth the money. So if you have to stretch a little bit to get into Castle Rock, I think you'll probably thank yourself later on than if you cut your budget back and went for one of these older houses in an older city. So
completely agreed. So those were 2 pros.
Yeah.
Give me a con.
Con of living in Castle Rock. So we talked about geographically, it's pretty far. I don't want to harp too much on geographic because there's also a lot of pros to it, but it's not that close to the mountains. And I know a lot of people say we want to move to Colorado because we want to have more of the mountain life. I've helped tons of out-of-state buyers move here that are like, we want to be engulfed in the mountains. That's why we want to come here. We're coming from New York or California because we want the mountain life. But we also need to be close to Denver because that's where our job is.
Sure.
I mean, Littleton and Lakewood are going to be so much closer to the mountains. They're right there at the base of the mountains compared to Castle Rock. It's going to take you probably 45 minutes to get to the mountains. And now you've got to get to where you want to be in the mountains, which, if you're going to Copper or Winter Park or something like that for skiing, that's going to be another hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on traffic. And so if your goal is to be in Colorado because you're going to spend every weekend or a lot of your free time in the mountains, geographically, again, going back to that, it's not going to be as accessible as other places. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge part of Colorado in general, mountains and, pretty active lifestyles, trails, bikings, all that's up there. So that could be a little tough. My, not combat, but my challenge is, and my dad, we used to go every weekend to the mountains from Castle Rock and, hey, we made it happen, so it can be feasible and it's, not.
My in-laws during ski season, they get the Epic or the Icon pass. So they, it's like a $700 pass or whatever, but it gives them free access all year to go to a ton of different ski resorts.
Right.
So it costs a lot of money. So it's a big investment, but you can go to some of the best ski resorts in Colorado over and over and over again. So during the ski season, they go almost every weekend. But they live in Castle Rock and they do it just fine. So it's not like you can't, it's not like people don't, it's not like it's too far. But if your priority, top 3 priority of living in Colorado is to go to the mountains every weekend, just put that into consideration because you maybe, Sterling Ranch has a similar newer community vibe like Castle Rock does, and it's going to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes closer to the mountains.
Makes perfect sense.
So just something to think about. Any other pros or cons come to mind?
I got a con.
Okay, what do you got?
I got to talk about this one. I've been hearing it so much so specifically I'm talking about Crystal Valley now.
Okay, yeah.
So there's obviously different subdivisions.
Which we'll get into in a second here in the best neighborhoods.
Okay, perfect. So I won't talk too much about that, but
but you go ahead and
my con
lead us up on it.
in Castle Rock is, which I see this more prevalent in certain subdivisions,
right?
Is some of the lots are just so small.
Yeah.
And the density is very tight, crowded, and it could feel for some folks tough to, have a backyard where they can enjoy the peace of that without their neighbors being on top or their dogs barking at them every 2 seconds. Things of that sort. And sometimes you see 4 different fence lines hitting your backyard just the way they're planted. And I wouldn't say, obviously, every home, your price point will, obviously, the higher you go up, you'll have a big lot, et cetera. But there's an abundance of probably 4,000 to 6,000 square feet lots. In just my opinion, that's too small.
So tight.
And the house's purchase price is, they're not like a super cheap amount, and you still have to have a good income.
You're still paying 600s or 700s.
Exactly. If you're starting a family, I could see these lots being outgrown fast.
Yep.
I actually feel like that's kind of happening to myself currently. It's just those lots are too small in certain sections for what you pay for the house.
Yep.
That's not the case in every single neighborhood, but I definitely see it more so in Castle Rock than some other places.
Well, you got a pretty big split, which we'll get into with neighborhoods in the next segment. But you've got some of the neighborhoods that were built in the late 90s or early 2000s that have very big yards and lots that are very standard. And then you have so much growth where there's been thousands of homes that have been built in the last 10 years in Castle Rock and thousands more in development and planned out to be built. And these builders have, they make it very sardine packed where these yards are super tight and house upon house upon house. And I think one thing on top of that that would be seen as a con too is that the town of Castle Rock has initiated some limits on sod and lawn,
And water.
so and water,
Yeah.
and so they are strictly limiting how much actual grass you can have. I bought a home that was built in 2024, and there's no yard in the front. It's xeriscaped in the front yard, and I have this tiny little, almost laughable rectangle.
I'm already
piece of
laughing. I don't
grass
need to see it.
in
I'm
the
laughing.
backyard. Luckily, we bought a corner lot, so our lot is actually a good size compared to all of our neighbors. We probably have the biggest or second biggest lot in the whole neighborhood
Nice.
because of that. But everyone else has got this tiny little patch of grass and this tiny little yard, and that's not just unique to my neighborhood. That's pretty much all of these new construction neighborhoods that are within the 500s to maybe 800s tops.
All of them.
Yeah, so there is that. But I think one last pro here to tie up this segment is that Castle Rock is bringing, well, that's it. Pros can also come with a con, and I'll do that again on this one.
Sure.
The pro is that there's a ton of growth coming to Castle Rock. And like I said, there's a Costco coming on the south side of the town, which is bringing obviously a Costco and a bunch of other retail and development and restaurants, I'm sure, and all sorts of things. Another highway entrance, which will be great, better access. I think that's going to be fantastic for the town. Some people are really against it because that might be too much growth in some people's mind. They want to keep it that small town feel, but it's probably not going to stay small town feel for very much longer.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
But the con to that is the development of this town of Castle Rock that has been such a small town for so long, can it handle that much growth in such a rapid time?
That's the question.
Is the traffic going to increase? Is it going to get congested?
Yeah.
Are they going to have to do some massive expansions to the roads and things? That's something that it's not a con right now, but I could see it being a problem.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've been to the downtown Castle Rock area as of late.
Yes,
You feel
the
that
Riverwalk area.
so much when it comes to parking and just
Building some big high-rise apartments and stuff.
every year they do a huge event, the starlighting.
Yeah.
Such a big event. And so notoriously, people travel so far to come to Castle Rock for this event.
Yep.
And my experience in the last couple of years is it was too full, and it was tough to have your kids and have everybody, move
There's
around the
no
street
parking.
safely, and you have to park almost over a mile away.
They sometimes get 50,000 people at that event
Yeah.
from the town and from outside of the
Yep.
town. Like it is packed. I mean, there's no room to walk in the streets. It's an amazing event, but
You're 100% valid, and the question truly is like, how are we going to handle the
how can we
growth?
sustain the growth?
I do believe that there's some really, really intelligent, intuitive people in place to kind of balance that out in the Castle Rock board, in the town council. I think there's some things that they're going to be looking at,
Yeah.
but it's happening fast.
It is.
Maybe too fast, maybe not.
We'll see. Hopefully I'm
see.
sure they have plans for that, but something to keep in mind. Okay, let's get into the next segment and talk about the specifics, the best neighborhoods in Castle Rock. What comes to your mind when someone says, hey, what are kind of the best areas in Castle Rock? What should I be looking for?
Ooh, that's tough. I love them all.
And there's some there's a lot of really good ones. And
Yeah.
we'll go over them and we'll
Yeah.
talk about kind of the advantages,
Yeah.
maybe advantages to some.
Okay.
But this isn't just like, we're not going to just talk about all the luxury neighborhoods.
sure.
They're the
That's
best
true.
because that's where the $3 million homes are. No, that's not necessarily what this means. We're going to go across different price points and different areas.
I can start with one.
Go ahead.
What came to my mind pretty quickly, almost instantly, was the neighborhood Red Hawk.
Sure. Yeah.
I think
Nice.
that Red Hawk is one of the better, in my opinion, neighborhoods in all of Castle Rock. And there's a couple reasons, and it's pretty simple. You don't have to overcomplicate it. Red Hawk, obviously, there's a golf course.
Yep.
You're right on the golf. So obviously people love that, and it can increase values, and it's just really kind of cool. Beyond the golf course is you have some of the lowest tax rates in all of Castle Rock is in Red Hawk. It's one of the older neighborhoods. What I like about older, some people don't like older sometimes, right? But what I like about it is it's had time.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of time to get things kind of perfected and done right, and building up the infrastructure and having all that completed. So when all of your infrastructure is done and it's really nicely done and set for long-term growth, the taxes stay low because you don't have to keep building and redoing roads or whatever it may be like. So it's a really beautiful older neighborhood, which means a bigger lot. I truly think those lots are almost double most.
Yeah.
And you have the golf course and you have low taxes. That to me is
Plus,
the triple whammy.
you're also, well, let's make it a quadruple whammy.
Let's see it.
You're right there at the edge. Like you're what, 5 minutes from the highway entrances right
Oh,
there?
so fast.
5 minutes from
So
the
fast.
like all the commerce and retail within
Exactly.
both sides. Because you're kind of in the middle. You take one, you go south on the road,
Mhm.
and that'll take you to like downtown Castle Rock within 7 minutes. And then if you go north on the road and then hit Meadows Boulevard, then you're right there, right by the outlets, the hospital, the movie theater, all these things, so close. So it's really the proximity of pretty much anywhere that you would need to be in Castle Rock is very good there.
It's kind of tucked away too. Not everyone even knows much about Red Hawk unless you
True.
live there, of course. It's in a nice orientated little, subdivision that's been planned out. The roads look great. They're a little bit wider. Like I said, the lots are a little bit bigger, and taxes and all that's a big deal. It's a direct reflection on your monthly mortgage right there.
I like it. No, that's a good one to start it off with. Yeah,
that was my number one.
So the one that comes to my mind is the number one. I would say the Meadows.
Okay.
Not necessarily because that's my number one, but out of all the buyers that I've worked with, the most of them say like, hey, our first priority is the Meadows. So what I like about the Meadows is similarly to Red Hawk, it's right there by Red Hawk. They kind of, they border each other. The Meadows is this big, huge master planned community. It's probably the first master planned community, if I were to guess, of Castle Rock.
I think that sounded about right.
And it's developed. It's older. Most of it. There's some new construction in the Meadows too, which is nice. But a lot of it's older, so you get good-sized lots. You have totally different price points. You've got starter family home price points in the 500s, and then you have, multi-million-dollar homes at the top. So you've got all sorts of different levels. You've got good amenities there with the Grange, which has like this big clubhouse and a really nice pool. Lots of parks, lots of schools. That's where there's multiple elementary and high school.
Right.
A very good proximity to the highway and the other amenities of the newer areas in Castle Rock. So I think the Meadows holds, if I were to guess, probably the highest median price point.
Yeah.
And it's very developed, like you said, which helps with just it being a solid place to go. So,
man, the Meadows is a tough one to beat. I have seen almost everyone who would like to be in Castle Rock does talk about Meadows first. I do think that's true. It's getting busy.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of people.
A lot of traffic these days. Just getting from your house to, say, the highway, I've noticed is getting a little bit busier. And I'm not trying to knock the Meadows one bit.
It's good.
Something that I've acknowledged is it's getting busier.
Yep.
And there's some talks about some HOA stuff, obviously, in the Meadows.
Yep.
Beyond that, though, the Grange, like you said, the Grange is one of the coolest. It's like a mini water park, essentially, for the kids. And I think that's so important for communities to have. And the Meadows they nailed it on the head there. So.
We actually held my wedding reception at the Grange.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because my in-laws, that's where my wife grew up, was in the Meadows. So they had access to it. We did that. But I think the Meadows is great. And there's a reason that it's typically highly sought after, for sure. Another one that comes to my mind is the one that I grew up in, which is the Terrain. So the
I was
Terrain,
thinking of the Terrain too.
For some reason, and I don't understand it, it's like a hot take for some people. I work with so many buyers that are like, they're open to it, but just as many that are open to it and like it and are looking there, there's just as many that are like, oh no, let's focus on the Meadows and Crystal Valley and this other neighborhood, but not the Terrain.
Yeah.
That might just be coincidence, but I think the Terrain is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's on the other side of the highway. So you think of it this way, I-25, probably the biggest highway in Colorado, splits Castle Rock almost in half. And you have Red Hawk in the Meadows on one side, on the west side, and you have the Terrain and some others that we'll talk about on the east side. A lot of new construction there. A lot of the homes just in general are significantly newer than the Meadows. Good size homes, good price points, really nice trails that are mixed throughout the neighborhood, a new elementary school. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I love it over there. I think it's an awesome, awesome community. So I don't know what you think, but
Terrain.
Yeah.
I love the Terrain. I think the Terrain's great.
There's also 2 different pools there, which is cool.
And so I think the master plan of Terrain was they nailed it.
Yeah.
Having the 2 pools. So we'll talk about a different neighborhood later that I actually reside in, but having one pool has been a heavy challenge and been a pain point for all the families.
Interesting. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyhow, my favorite thing about the Terrain is some of the lots and some of the views those lots have.
Yeah.
You are way up there.
You're more on the hill, yeah.
And I've really been to a few where it's just like you have a 360 panoramic and it's just absolutely the most gorgeous thing in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think you can get too many better lots than in the terrain holistically than any of the other neighborhoods. I think they have some of the nicest lots as far as views go.
Yeah. And what I will say is just along that before you switch, the terrain, but pretty much any neighborhood in Castle Rock, but the terrain did this really well, is they spread out a lot of open space between the houses in different segments of the neighborhood to kind of split things up so it's not just a sea of homes really well. I think Castle Rock does that good in general, but the terrain does an excellent job.
Yeah. What I've run across is a lot of people just don't know terrain exists, or if they're in the terrain, they don't understand they're in the terrain. They just think they're going through a certain neighborhood, of course.
But they didn't brand it very well. I think
no,
they had to rebrand it actually.
It is a great place, and the homes are really nice quality.
They are.
What I've seen. So the older ones were built right. The newer ones are, one of the better builders. I'd say some of the better builders came in there and did some great work. So yeah, I like that terrain. That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned that you have one. So where do you live right now, and what are your thoughts on it? Why do you think it's a really good neighborhood? You obviously landed there, and you're a realtor, so I think follow where the realtors go is a good sign.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I like that. So I actually landed in Crystal Valley Ranch, and so to be honest, the reason why I landed there was I got the crazy deal. I wanted to be in Castle Rock, and we were, making a big jump. We were selling a townhome, trying to move into a home. My wife was pregnant. So we were thinking about our future and financials and just making sure we got the right deal to make this make sense and to make sure we can, have fun and not feel house poor, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we went to Crystal Valley Ranch. There was a local builder. I actually work very closely with this builder. It's the Kaufman Homes. So they're not, big corporate type builders. It's just a small family. They built in Arizona as well as here in Colorado. And we've become really close over the last 6 years. Yeah. We do a lot of work together. Anyhow, they found a lot for me. Someone was under contract. They backed out, called me up, and essentially that's just kind of how the deal worked out.
Yeah, nice.
I just wanted to be in Castle Rock. Didn't really per se snipe out Crystal Valley, but now, I've been there 5 years. I've come to really, really appreciate it. I do think it may, I'll start with a con. Let's start with a con. Is location-wise, it can be a little difficult. Getting in and out. There's one way in, one way out. And you alluded to this highway they're building. That highway is the Crystal Valley Parkway exit. So we have to wait for that to kind of get completed.
That will resolve that as soon as that goes.
So at this time and for the last 5 years, it's been pretty challenging.
It's pretty secluded out
to
there.
get in and out.
It's like the southernmost side of Castle Rock.
Exactly. So it's a little bit, if you ask me, just out of the way.
Yep.
It's not too far from a highway of any sort, but it is
compared to other ones. Compared to the Meadows or Red Hawk.
Yeah.
It's an additional 10 minutes.
And then I mentioned the one pool. So they do have one pool. It is in a clubhouse. So you do have some amenities. But in my opinion, for the amount of people living there, it probably could use one more pool or some sort of community type of center.
Yeah.
So for example, compare and contrast, in Highlands Ranch, you get 4 rec centers.
Big.
4 rec centers, and they're really nice. East, west, south, north. All 4 of them are just awesome. And people will talk days and days about how much they love their rec centers.
Yep.
So that experience, I'm not saying we need that experience by any means, but
a little bit more.
The little bit more for how many people have moved in there.
Because there's a nice park too, but
the Ryland Regional Park is which is really big, and they got the Frisbee golf course. You got the bike trails, the open fields. You got dog parks. You're not too far from Douglas County Fairgrounds. You're actually a pretty good location, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit on the south side, whatnot.
But that's where the Costco's coming. That's a lot of this new development. So it's going to change. Give it a few years, and Crystal Valley's not going to be thought of as secluded or far away. It's gonna change.
Oh, some people may have issues with Crystal Valley, and I feel like I just keep talking about cons in the neighborhood I live. I actually really do love it.
Yeah.
But I think it's super important to know these things.
Yeah.
And especially, so here's a big one that most people are used to, especially if you have pets and animals and things of that sort, which almost everybody does.
Yeah.
They have specific rules about your fencing. It has to be those 4.5 feet split rail vinyl. And you have to use chicken wire.
Yep.
So most dogs pretty much can leap over that.
Yep.
The other little tiny dogs like I have, like a little Yorkie, like they're not going to get through. but that could be a challenge for the people who strictly won't live there or move there based on
I've seen that.
fencing. And I have some people that want privacy fencing. They want 6 feet fencing.
Yep.
And you're just not going to get there. And the lots are a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, we went there because it was a really good value.
Yeah.
We still love it.
And I think that's why it actually deserves to be talked about,
Yes.
because
You get
there
a lot
is
more home.
great value there. If you want to have a plethora of options of homes that have been built within the last, that are brand new homes or built within the last 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, like the newest, biggest community in Colorado or in Castle Rock, rather, it's Crystal Valley. And the prices there are going to be significantly better than probably most of the homes that we've talked about so far,
100%,
or that we will talk about.
100%.
So, or neighborhoods rather.
Yeah, I think Crystal Valley has a good mix of, you have the $1 million to $2 million homes. It has the, more entry level, some with just crawl space.
Yep.
It's very dynamic for everyone's needs. Price points are a lot better than most places in Castle Rock in general. It has, if you ask me, the most value in all of Castle Rock.
I agree. If you are looking to buy your first home and you're on a budget and you want a newer home, it's one of the few communities, not only in Castle Rock, but in Douglas County, where you could buy a brand new or within 5 years new home in the 500s still.
That's unheard of.
Single family home.
Act fast. That's not going to last too long.
No.
I think a lot of people are starting to really catch on to Castle Rock, especially Crystal Valley. The value's great. And I do think eventually people, demand.
That's not
demand happens.
Not going to last that long.
Supply's going to run out. And all of us are going to see all that equity coming back, and the price is just soaring, to be honest.
Yeah. So another one, since we're kind of talking about homes on a budget, I think a lot of people, families, are relocating to Castle Rock because they see it, they like that suburb feel. They like the idea of it. The other best neighborhood that I would say is really worth considering if you're looking on a budget is Founders.
Founders Village and Castlewood Ranch, I think.
Yep, at Castlewood Ranch. That's where you can get. It's going to be an older home. Most of the homes there are older. Not by older, I mean 2000s, right? So not 80s, some 80s, but for the most part built in the 2000s. But a big master plan community where you're going to have good size homes.
Yeah, they are.
Great size lots in a very affordable price range.
A lot of parks I've seen.
A lot of parks. Multiple schools. It's a really good area for that purpose. So it's kind of tucked away, similarly to Crystal Valley. It's tucked away within Castle Rock a little bit deeper. So you've got to drive a bit to get to the highway, and there's not going to be a new highway entrance. I can say that it's not as conveniently located next to the highway, but in terms of value, bang for your buck, first-time home buyers, I think Founders Village, it would be a shame not to mention it. It's a very good neighborhood. Any other ones, maybe just off the cuff? We don't have to go in as deep of detail, but what other neighborhood catch your mind?
Quickly touch on, let's see. We talked about the Meadows. Maybe you can help me touch on this one too, but what about the Montaigne?
Yep. Montaigne, just right on the other side of Crystal Valley, right? A little bit closer on the west side of Crystal Valley.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Montaigne?
I think it's good. I think it's a newer construction community, even newer than Crystal Valley Ranch. And I think the only things setting it back at all is that it's similarly secluded like Crystal Valley Ranch is, where there's not the highway entrance yet. Retail, you have to commute a little bit more to get to restaurants and shopping and things. So I think that's the only con I see to it, but it's similar, all the same pros that you get in Crystal Valley, I think you get with Montaigne too. So
that's what just like you said. Then if you ask me, the best way to look at Montaigne is Crystal Valley's older brother, maybe.
Yeah,
actually.
Sure.
It's had a little bit more money in there, and they're going to have more community centers and more pools, and the amenities are going to be pretty extravagant.
Yeah,
it's going to be
nice areas.
More resort type.
Yeah, it does feel a little more resorty.
Yeah, I would say it's the same as Crystal Valley, just maybe
a little tier up.
Potentially.
I think the prices are just a little bit higher.
But again, it's not fully developed yet.
Yeah.
The highway's not here yet, so there'll be some challenges. But there's some beautiful houses in Montaigne, and I see a lot of good deals from the builders there.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one to mention for sure. A couple other ones that come to my mind, Sapphire Point and Macanta. They're on the eastern side of Castle Rock, so really close to Parker in terms of geographic locations. Macanta's new. It's brand new, 2 years, 3 years old or whatever. So a lot of new construction there, expensive price points, but incredible views. There's herds of elk that go through that neighborhood. It's awesome. Sapphire Point. It's an older one, early 2000s, built out. The only issue with Sapphire Point, there's literally one way in, one way out.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. And
There's
that's
a
why
lot of
my parents had moved
roundabouts
that. A
and
lot
all
of
that.
roundabouts, but you can get a lot of good, size homes that are 4,000 plus square feet, 5 bedrooms plus, like good size homes, good areas over there, good parks. Trying to think of any other ones that really come to my mind. I think we hit on some of the big ones.
Maybe Cobblestone.
Cobblestone's good.
That's a good one.
Cobblestone is good, but it's, in my opinion, geographically the worst location in all
I
of
can't
Castle Rock.
stand where it's located.
Think about this. It's on the southern, it's literally almost Parker. You could literally throw a rock and hit Parker from Cobblestone Ranch, but it's literally as South Parker as you can get and East Castle Rock as you can get. And so if you at all have to commute, it'll probably drive you nuts.
Yeah.
But you can get some great homes out there. Richmond American is building homes that have like RV garages out there, and they're on quarter acre or 1.5 acre lots.
You just don't find that anymore.
That's amazing. New builds don't do that, but they're like they're over $1 million, so they're 1.2,
Minor details.
1.3. So that's another great one.
Yeah.
In terms of luxury neighborhoods, there's some really cool luxury neighborhoods. Diamond Ridge is one that comes to mind. Pinion Soleil, really cool neighborhood. It's just completely forested.
Yeah.
That's where some Broncos players will move to, is kind of that area over there. So there's a lot of, if you kind of have that higher price point, that's what I love about Castle Rock. Starter homes, perfect.
Yeah.
There's plenty.
There's tons.
You've got kids, they're grown, you got a lot of kids, you need a bigger home, plenty. Suburban homes like that. Luxury homes, lots of luxury neighborhoods too, where you can have a pretty cool selection on incredible houses. So there's townhomes. If you really are on a budget, that's fine too. There's great communities for that as well in Castle Rock. So in terms of the neighborhoods, lots of really good things. Okay, let's just talk really quickly on some things to do, things that you can do in Castle Rock, and then we'll wrap up with the Houses of Horrors segment and call it a day. So when people ask you, hey, Jordan, what do you do? What are things that I could do in Castle Rock if I moved there? Because that's the complaint in high school. All the high schoolers said, oh, there's nothing to do. That has changed, in my opinion.
Okay. So there's so many. So I'm just kind of going through here.
Yeah. The couple that come to my mind while you're thinking, the Mac. It's a huge recreational park area. There's zip lining and ropes courses and just open fields you can play on, park things. And there's an incline of 200 steps. It's a cool little hike that gets you on the top. And then it also has like the facility itself with a big pool.
They have the zip line going down there.
Yeah.
They got the zip line there. That's pretty
cool.
Crazy.
Yeah. They have a venue there for like concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
So the Mac is cool. That's
the indoor pool there. Indoor soccer.
Yep.
So I play some I haven't in a long time.
Yeah. Yep.
Played some soccer there. That Mac, we've done so many birthday parties there.
Yes.
Had my daughter's birthday. My niece had all her birthday parties there. What a cool place.
It's
the
cool.
Mac.
The Mac is cool. It's incredible. Throughout Castle Rock entirely, there's just trails everywhere.
Yes.
You can hike Castle Rock itself, which is a fun hike, but there's just trails spread out throughout pretty much every single neighborhood. Castlewood Ranch is a really popular one, or Castlewood Canyon rather is a really popular trail or hike there. It has incredible areas, so there's lots to do in terms of outdoor stuff. In Castle Rock, I think that's good. A lot of biking is good.
I think what's cool to have in Castle Rock, in our little section, is the Rhyolite Regional Park. So the kids can play their soccer games. It's a large regional park. It is very well kept, very clean. I've had birthday parties on the patio. There's the swing set. There's the pickleball. And my favorite, the frisbee call. It's literally a professional standard level course.
I did not know that.
18 holes. And it is, you just don't see these type of things. And like, I think that is so cool.
That is cool.
So like, I'll go with some buddies, and I know some people, I just see people always playing and just getting out. I like the fact that you can just get outside and have some fun. Don't need much but a frisbee, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Another thing that comes to my mind is the fairgrounds. You mentioned the Douglas County Fairgrounds. They have events there throughout the whole year. I mean, huge rodeos, huge events, all sorts of stuff. It's just a big area for all sorts of really
They've been
big
doing
events.
those farmers markets a lot lately too. I
Farmers
think those
markets
are
out
so
there.
cool. I found some cool stuff there, and I like
Every weekend, I
spicy
think.
stuff, and they have some like roasted chilies and just some cool stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the fairgrounds is cool. A lot of good things to do there. There's so much.
The downtown area
Yeah, like the river
That
walk.
that really has come a long way.
It has.
And like, if you're just a big foodie, right? You just
Yep.
like food. I find that you can have just about anything and everything, and it's good. It's really, it's made with love. It doesn't taste
Yeah.
like just I made 1,000 burgers today. It's
Yeah.
just another McDonald's.
Tons of Great Divide's a good restaurant downtown.
Great Divide.
That's
The brewery,
awesome.
everything on their menu is just phenomenal.
Yep.
What do you eat there then?
They actually brought the buffalo mac and cheese back. They had
Okay.
taken it off their menu for a bit, but they also have a braised lamb enchilada plate too.
So that's
Just
the
a
short
great-
rib.
short rib,
Short
not
rib
braised lamb.
enchiladas. 'Cause I was gonna
Braised
talk about-
lamb is actually, there's a restaurant in the hospital
Yeah.
that's
Oh.
called
And it starts with an M.
it's Manna.
Man.
It's in the restaurant, and it's like a 5-star grade nonprofit.
Yeah.
And they had a braised lamb dish. They might still have it.
Yeah.
But they've got like professional chefs there, so that's a good one.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is a short rib.
The short rib enchiladas is what
So
I
good.
always get. My wife ends up getting the it's like the French bread or
Oh yeah, there's like a French dip thing.
the
there.
French dip,
Yeah.
the roast sandwich or
Yes.
something. She'll get that every single time. Like the food's just incredible.
Yep.
I like beer.
Mhm.
I love beer. In Castle Rock downtown, there's like 4 or 5 breweries all in this little section.
Yep.
And they all have a little different like ambiance or nuance.
Mhm.
I just think all the people that go there are just so friendly and nice, and it really feels like you're welcomed.
Yeah.
So if you like to drink beer, if you
Mhm.
just like food, if you like to just walk, I mean, downtown is really nice right now.
Yeah. Well, and there's tons of events that they do, like the Star Lighting and Oktoberfest. I think they do. They have a thing like that, and food trucks and all sorts of things. So in terms of things to do, there are lots of things to do in
There's-
Castle Rock.
there's even
The
like,
outlet
what?
mall.
2 or 3 golf courses.
Yeah. Yep.
So
There's plenty to do. So, well, I hope so far that this has been a really valuable episode, just
Yeah.
breaking down the ins and outs of Castle Rock. We're going to transition out of Castle Rock for now, but if you have any questions, feel free to call Jordan or I anytime about, we'll have both of our information in the description about Castle Rock itself. We love it. We live there, and I think that's a good sign. Go where the realtors go, right? If they live there, that's a good sign that they love it.
Good
So,
so
yeah.
thank you.
But let's get into the Houses of Horrors section here just to tie things
Okay.
up. So, like I said,
Already
mine's
laughing.
about a pest control issue. So I was helping a really nice family buy, they're buying 80 acres out, or 40 acres out in Franktown.
Mhm.
And it was this beautiful home, unobstructed mountain views, the full range. Pikes Peak right there is almost in your face. And it was this beautiful home. And we're going through the inspection, and the inspector goes up into the attic, and he's like, yeah, there seems to be, there's a pest issue up there. I saw signs of pests kind of thing. And
That's pretty broad.
yeah, it was broad, and inspectors often leave it broad when they can. They're not professional pest inspectors or anything like that, so they just call out things they see. And so we said, okay, we got to get a pest guy out there then. And so we send out a company, and this company goes out, and they're like, yeah, we looked up there, and here's the issue. All of the insulation in the attic, it's all damaged from just years of, pests up there. There's all sorts of signs of all sorts of pests. Rats, maybe even squirrels and raccoons, who knows? And they're like, it's going to cost $20,000 for us to fix this pest issue kind of thing. We're like,
20,000.
$20,000, because they were saying that they had to replace all the insulation.
Did
So
you
all of a
laugh
sudden-
at them, or was that? for real?
we kind of did.
That's kind of
It
laughable.
was it was a laughable quote. I mean, because
It's a
the
BMW right
inspector
there.
didn't think that it was that bad. He didn't go into too deep. And so what we did is luckily it was about to blow up the deal. It was this awesome deal, an awesome house, beautiful acreage, some of the best views I've ever seen. And it was about to blow it up because we were told that it was going to cost $20,000, and the sellers weren't going to do that because they thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So luckily we sent out another company, got another quote, and he's like, yeah, there are issues. We do not have to replace the whole insulation. But it'll be more of like a $5,000 to $7,000 fix, and we'll get it taken care
you
of
can
for you.
swallow that pill.
You can swallow that.
20 grand.
Yeah, and
another
so I think
story.
the sellers even like just covered the bill or something, or they at least provided a credit for the buyers to do it later. But because there was it wasn't a very trustworthy opinion, I guess, at the time, but this pest situation almost blew up. It was, and I say this lightly now because it's past and it's been a while, but at the time it was like such a detrimental thing that this awesome deal, this awesome house, this awesome acreage was about to get blown up by a pest issue that was quoted improperly. So
That's great.
yeah, it ended up working out for them.
Yeah.
They've since finished the house and finished the basement, and it's turned
All
into an
good so
awesome
far.
thing for them. Yeah, and they're going to build this huge, detached
Yeah.
barn on the outside, but
Yeah.
it almost made that all go away. So
It's like they got killer rodents. It's going to cost
Yeah.
$20,000 to get rid of these.
yeah,
mutant
what are these,
rodents.
damn kiter rats or
Like,
something. No, it was just, you never know with
they're
bids. So
special edition rats.
yeah.
There's only 10 of them left in the world. I was just kidding.
Yeah, that's what it felt like with 20K.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Some of the things we see are just pretty hard to fathom sometimes.
Yes.
It's like, is that even possible? Did
Yeah.
you make that up?
Yeah,
Sometimes it feels that way.
it does.
Okay, so I gave you a little teaser earlier.
A one-word teaser.
Chicken.
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 It's not rats, it's chicken. Chicken.
Uh,
Singular.
So this was pretty wild too, and it's kind of similar situation as yours. So I was representing my seller.
Okay.
And they actually lived in Castle Rock in the Founders Village.
Okay.
Nice home. I think we were at like 655.
Yeah.
Beautiful home, well kept. Pride of ownership was all over it. Anyways, it was a bigger lot, and in that Founders Village, they were allowed to have chicken. So they had a whole setup in the
Yeah,
backyard.
coop and everything.
Huge coop. Like they had probably about 7 different chickens in the coop. It was one of those where they spared no expense. So it's all like automated.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just opens up at the
It's
right
legit.
time when the chickens need to do their thing or whatever. And it closes.
Gets them back in before the foxes come out and
Yeah,
coyotes at night.
it has all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
It was literally self-automated. So like anybody could use it and keep your chickens alive and get eggs. Like that's how fancy it was. So
Nice.
great. They've had those chickens probably for about 5 years or so. And he was telling me too, he was all proud of it because I thought it was cool. I like your chicken hen or whatever. Can I get some fresh farm eggs?
Yeah.
So when he was telling me about it, his wife was like always just really into the chickens too, and just like cared for them,
Yeah.
like personally, like a pet.
Yeah. These aren't our dogs. These are, well, they're like our dogs rather.
Anyhow, fast forward, he did tell me that these were special type of chickens too, that they're a little bit more expensive than normal chickens, and they had the bigger eggs and they last long. Who knows? I don't know much about chickens.
Yeah, I don't know anything about chickens, but I get it. There's a special type of everything out there.
So that being said, we fast forward, we get a contract, we're doing inspection. We're not doing inspection.
The buyers
I'm
are.
representing the seller.
Yep.
So the buyers are doing their inspection. So they come in with their inspector, and so they finish everything about 2.5 hours. And my clients were actually out of town, and they were getting back the following day after inspection. So there was going to be basically an 18-hour period.
I remember you talking about this at a team meeting.
Where it's exactly nobody was going to be home.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah,
What
blah,
time of year is
blah. So we did, the inspection was probably about 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then
And what time of year? Like season?
I think we were in March.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they finished their inspection. The house was clean. They thought everything went well. They did put the lights off. Everything was good. Before I get there, the inspector forgot to turn a switch.
Yep.
And this switch was the switch that activated the automated system that the chicken coop has and does and provides.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward the next day, about 2 o'clock, I'd say about 2 o'clock, I get the call from my client, his wife. And she's calling me and she's hysterical. And I don't know what she's saying other than, my chicken, it's my chicken. And I'm like, wait, what about your chickens? So then Blake, my client, he calls me up and he's like, we need to terminate this deal. They just killed our chicken. They just killed our chickens. And I'm like, whoa. So step back. What are you talking about? So this didn't get plugged back in and the light switch was off.
So no heat.
So there's no heat and the cages opened up. And all we think and can think is that either the foxes came and grabbed them, because all that was left was just chicken feathers just kind of flapping.
Oh, no.
And all the chickens were gone and one was still passed away right in front of her.
Oh, no.
So these chickens probably about $300 each, right? And there's about 8 chickens. Gosh. So he wanted to just, I'm not working with these people.
Yeah,
Their inspector just killed my chickens. And that's what they called me and said.
Yeah.
So we had to take a step back, and lo and behold, we still closed and everything still made it to the finish line. And the inspector basically said it wasn't his fault. So the agent said, like, I don't know what to do. So the agent basically, my client said the agent has to do something about this or we're not going to close.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he ended up getting about $1,500 check for all the chickens and closing to make this happen. But he lost his 8 chickens in a traumatic experience. And
that sucks.
Chickens. That's all I got.
Chicken. Oh my gosh. Well,
So,
that is a nightmare,
um,
especially I'm sure as they walked onto the scene and saw just
I heard it was
the
a
remains.
mess, just a giant mess. Nobody
Sucks.
probably should have seen that
A lot of
scene,
foxes. I bet that's what it was.
So that's what we were thinking. Obviously,
Yeah.
they didn't have cameras or something.
Yeah.
but those chickens are officially gone.
They're gone. But at least they sold the house and got cashed out of it. So
Yeah, I had to have that
Okay.
horror story. Come
that's
back
a good
in,
one.
so, yeah.
That's a good one.
I
The
don't
first
think I'll
one
have-
with death, I think, so far. So
I don't think we'll have that experience
Yeah.
again. So I'll talk about it.